You cannot believe what they cure. They cure high blood pressure, they cure high cholesterol, they cure diabetes, type 2 diabetes, they even cure cancer. And they write these things up in peer-reviewed medical journals. People should check this out.
I'm happy you're back to watch my show Growth Factor. I'm Amalia, and you are looking at Tibor and Elise. And the reason they're here today is to help you know that there's something you can do despite getting a dire diagnosis. And Elise had a diagnosis of cancer. So we're going to get right into it because she used some strategies that are a little bit different. And we'd love to share that with you. So first, I'd like to ask, what was your diagnosis and what is it all about?
The diagnosis was multiple myeloma. And that's a blood cancer, which is very different than solid cancers, like breast cancer, for example. And the diagnosis also with solid cancers, there's stage 1, 2, 3, and 4, which people know stage 4 is like pretty bad. And multiple myeloma is very, very different. So there are staging, but it's different. Anyway, I was diagnosed and my doctor said I'm high risk. And I had no clue what that even meant. And then we started researching.
And then we found out it was ultra high risk, actually, which is the absolute worst possible thing that you can be told if you have multiple myeloma. That's like stage 4.
And I know a lot of people, we all have these weird symptoms from time to time, and we usually think, oh, it might be the C word. I don't want to say that word. So could you tell us what were your first inkling that you had something going on with your body, and then why did you go to the doctors?
All right. I went in for pre-op X-ray for an elective procedure. And when the X-ray technician read the X-ray, she comes out and she gives me the disc, which I was expecting. And then she gives me a report and she sits down next to me, taps me on my leg and says, go see your doctor.
That's not good.
So I said, really? She said, no. Today, go see your doctor today. I said, why? She said, go see your doctor. So I was kind of freaking out at that point. And usually Tibor comes with me to all of my tests of any kind, even to the dentist. And for, I don't remember, one reason he didn't come with me that day. And so I had to digest all that information on my own. So to make a long story short, I immediately called the doctor and I got an appointment the next day. He ran a whole bunch of tests. And within a week, we knew it was multiple myeloma. And I still had no clue what that really meant.
We'd never heard that word, those words, multiple myeloma. By the way, what the X-ray technician saw was lesions in the bones, meaning the bones had holes in them. Something was eating away at her bones. Yeah, so we went to the doctor and the doctor sent us to a CT scan. We got a CT scan done.
A full body X-ray.
A full body X-ray.
And, you might say, well, did you know something was wrong? And I had a slight ache in my back. And I thought maybe I pulled a muscle, I exercised too much. I mean, it wasn't anything serious, but it was the bones in my ribs that was causing ache.
That the bone marrow that had escaped the bone was eating away and destroying her rib. And so it was starting to hurt. Initially, it was kind of on and off, and then it was constant. And all this was going on simultaneously with the result of the X-ray, and we being told that she had multiple myeloma. So I mean, so then when we found out that she has multiple myeloma and it's cancer, we didn't know how bad it was. All we knew is that she has multiple myeloma. We understood that cancer spreads very rapidly, so we understood that time is of the essence. But at the same time, we just wanted to make sure that she has a good doctor and a good hospital. So we went hospital shopping. We really went hospital shopping.
Well, first you have to understand, I'm from the United States, but we live in Israel. So it's nationalized medicine. And in the nationalized medicine, there's certain hospitals or doctors you're supposed to use. But that didn't deter us. We decided we wanted to find the best one.
Even if we had to pay for it. So we went to 3 hospitals. We spoke to the top people at those 3 hospitals. One of them that, you know, the country would pay for, and the other 2 would not. They would not pay for. And and then I was doing incredible amount of research. I mean, I was reading. I knew nothing about medicine until that point. Although I did have cancer, so when I had cancer, obviously, I took the hospital treatment.
But
Anyway.
so anyway, he did a lot of research. And of course, we called all the doctors we knew. We knew a few oncologists, and they kind of we sent them the tests.
Well,
and they didn't want to tell me what the real problem was, because they thought I should get it from my doctor, and they didn't want to be the bearer of bad news.
Well, I should say that in my reading, I discovered that it's very important to be treated in a hospital where they have a lot of expertise with myeloma. You know, if you are in a region where, you know, you have like a regional hospital and they really don't know myeloma, chances are that your life expectancy will be significantly reduced. So after having read that, you know, I was researching for doctors in Israel who had written many papers on multiple myeloma, and, you know, which hospitals do they belong to. Anyway, so finally we ended up at Sheba. So what I liked about Sheba was that I think it was Newsweek that commissioned a study to find the 10 best hospitals in the world, and Sheba was on that list of 10. So that was one thing. They had a huge hematology department, so I liked that. And what I really went nuts over is that they actually had a separate myeloma unit within hematology. And the doctors in that myeloma unit did nothing but myeloma. Who was the head of hematology, his name is Dr. Nagler. Very, very, very elegant, intelligent, beautiful person.
He speaks a lot in all these conferences.
He speaks all over the world.
Why you were taking those tests? You said you had a little bit of pain in your back, maybe your ribs. So what tests were you doing? Why were you doing those tests?
What happened was, when the X-ray technician.
And why did you take the X-ray?
No, I told her it was a pre-op test for something unrelated.
Yeah, it was for a bunion, nothing to do with myeloma.
Okay.
And they saw holes in the bones. So we went to my family doctor, and he saw the report. So he sent me for a CT scan to get a better understanding of what's there. So we got the CT scan within a day or 2.
Right, but to answer your question, the reason why we took the X-ray originally that discovered the problem was completely unrelated to myeloma. It was for an elective procedure, nothing to do with multiple myeloma, and that's what discovered it. We would have discovered it anyway. Right, we would have discovered it anyway because she already started having pain in her ribs, you know, which we thought she just pulled a muscle, but you know, as the days went by, the pain became worse and worse.
So how can he tell me what to do if he's not experiencing the same hunger or anxiety or whatever? Okay?
I didn't think that I wanted to fast. I wanted her to fast for a long time. I wanted her to fast for 30, 40 days. And I didn't feel that I would have the moral authority to tell her to keep fasting when she says she's hungry if I'm not doing it with her. If I'm also fasting, I can say, hey, I'm fasting too, and you're the sick one. So you continue to fast.
Beautiful.
He kept saying 30 days, and I'm going, what? That, you know, maybe a week, you know, maybe a couple of days. But why don't you tell him why we decided to fast?
And what year was this when you got your diagnosis?
2020, July 2020, in the height of COVID.
2 years ago.
Right.
So I had colon cancer in 2012, so that's 10 years ago. And I read up on the internet about that. And I found that many people who were going through the same thing that I was going through, that is chemo, they recommended fasting during chemo, that it made the experience a lot easier, better. And in fact, when I had my first treatment of chemo, I had a very, very bad reaction to it. And then I started fasting. So what I would typically do is before the chemo, 2 days before the chemo, I would start fasting. So I started fasting during the chemo, through the chemo. That is, I started 2 days before the chemo treatment, and I continued to fast until after the chemo was out of my body. And that made the experience a lot easier to bear. And in fact, I did all my treatments. There were, it was a 6-month period. Every 2 weeks, I had to go in and get this chemo treatment, and it was never delayed because anyway, I did it like really, it was.
When he fasted, he didn't have nausea. He was weak, possibly from not eating and also from the chemo, but he didn't have the nausea and the diarrhea and all that nasty stuff.
Right.
So
I did have it the first time with the first treatment before I started fasting, but then I didn't have it. So it was a much better experience. And anyway, so I'm cancer free now. Colon cancer generally doesn't come back after 5 years. If you are in remission for 5 years, and I'm in remission for 10 years. So, but I got interested in fasting, and I started researching fasting, and I found incredible things about fasting. And I try to tell people how powerful fasting is and how much healing goes on when you're fasting. And I can't convince absolutely anybody. I mean, most people think that if you fast for 3 days, you die. Actually, you can fast for 70 days and you don't die. If you have enough fat on you. They think, what, you're going to be starving, you're going to be starving. So there is a big difference between fasting and starving. Fasting means that you're not eating, but your body is very well fed. I'd like to explain that.
Please.
When you don't eat, your body uses up your glycogen store, which is your glucose, and then it starts taking from your fat. It turns your fat into ketone bodies, and ketone bodies fuel your cells. So incredibly, our bodies, unlike most animals, are hybrid machines, like a car that can run on gasoline and on electricity. We can run on glucose or ketone bodies. And actually, the body loves ketone bodies. But you can only get to the ketone bodies if you stop filling your glycogen storage with all the garbage that we eat every day. Because it's easier for the body to take that first. So the cells, all your cells in your body, very interesting the way it works. Did you know that your life expectancy, Amalia, you might not know this, your life expectancy is about 3 minutes. Did you know that? Unless you take another breath of fresh air, of oxygen, then you get another 3 minutes of life. Okay? And the cells, just like we need energy, we need oxygen constantly. We constantly need oxygen. Your cells also need energy constantly. They constantly need to be energized. If not, you're going to die. So the body, the cells can be energized with glucose or with ketone bodies. And when you don't get glucose, or if you don't eat especially, your body will start searching for the least desirable fat in your body. And that could actually be fat that's very damaging to your body. When you fast, you're actually detoxing. And so it starts burning all that to fuel your cells. And typically, if you're fasting, you will lose 1 pound a day. 1 pound of fat a day.
I like
1
that.
pound of fat, you can check it, comes to approximately 3,000 calories. So actually, when you're fasting, you're getting 3,000 calories. You're being exceptionally well fed. You might want ice cream or you might want hot dog, okay? But you're actually not hungry. You might be missing certain minerals, when you don't eat. But in terms of hunger, I can tell you when I fast, and I fast 3-4 times a year. I do that because I think it's very healthy.
How many
Like on
days?
How many days?
5, 6, 7 days, something like that,
Mm.
you know. But like on the fourth day, it takes about 2-3 days until your glycogen store is completely empty. And so you're going into ketosis. If you've never done it before, your body has difficulty burning ketone bodies, your fat. It has to kind of learn how to do that, and your mind clears up. If you've ever had brain fog, your mind clears up. Your vision actually becomes better. And if you have spots in your eyes, they clear up. The spots go away. I mean, it is incredible what happens when you fast. So, so you're being very well fed. Now, once let's say you fast for a very long time. You look for argument's sake. Let's say that you fast for 70 days, 80 days, right? And everything that you have to give in terms of fat, you've given, and there's nothing left. Okay, the only thing now you've got is have left is your vital organs, your heart, your kidneys. You know, your body will attack your heart and your kidneys, and you will die. At that point, you're starving. But only at that point are you starving. Until then, all you're doing is fasting.
Not
because I'm the caretaker,
because he's the caretaker.
Okay.
and I'm not being medically
Because somebody,
supervised.
right.
So I stopped after 15 days. She stopped after 16 and a half days, which kind of proves my point that I had to fast for her to fast. Because as soon as I stopped, she stopped too. But anyway, but 16 was okay. So I was telling you that I did a lot of research on fasting. So I was very fascinated by fasting. And so I found out all these things that I was telling you, glycogen storage, and then, you know, you deplete that, and then your body goes, it's a hybrid machine, so it goes to the fat and turns into ketone bodies, and your ketone bodies energize your cells, and you're getting a pound of fat a day.
How does fasting affect cancer?
So yeah, so I'm getting to that, right? I'm doing my research, I'm reading all that. And then they talk about autophagy. So autophagy is a very, very, very big deal in medicine. In fact, in 2016, a Japanese doctor received a Nobel Prize for describing how autophagy works. Autophagy is 2 Greek words, and it means self-eating, which you would think is very damaging. But actually what happens when you, and the best way to get into autophagy is through fasting. And actually what happens is you completely renew your immune system. I mean, you get a brand new immune system when you fast within a few weeks. People don't understand how powerful fasting is as a healer. And you got to remember that during our evolution, I don't know what you think, how long we've been around, 6,000 years or hundreds of thousands of years. But I can tell you that, you know, when we were hunters and gatherers, especially in the winter, there was really nothing to eat but the game that you caught. And you didn't catch game every day. And certainly you didn't have 3 meals a day. And if you didn't catch a meal, basically you fasted. So your body is basically in 2 modes generally. It's either in growth mode or in healing mode. When you're eating, you're in growth mode. When you're in growth mode, you cannot be in healing mode. When you're fasting, you're not in growth mode, you're in healing mode. So if you want to heal, you got to be fasting. I discovered True North, this organization, that they have 15 medical doctors, licensed medical doctors on staff, and all they do is fast people. They do nothing else but fast people. They have fasted about 25,000 people over a period of 33 years. They have an incredible amount of data on fasting. You cannot believe what they cure. They cure high blood pressure, they cure high cholesterol, they cure diabetes, type 2 diabetes, they even cure cancer. And they write these things up in peer-reviewed medical journals. People should check this out. The medical community knows nothing about fasting. People should check this out. The medical community knows nothing about fasting. I found that fasting was very, 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 very powerful. So that's why immediately when she had the diagnosis, I said to her, we got to start fasting immediately. And we started fasting, and she fasted for 16 and a half days. So that was from July the 31st, I think, of 2020 until August the 15th or so, something like that. One of the people that I was researching was a fellow by the name of Dr. Thomas Seyfried.
That's what I was about to say. So
That was before you were still fasting when I called him. I was very interested in what he had to offer because I read him and I saw some of his videos, and he showed that you can not cure cancer, but maybe reduce the cancer with ketogenic diet.
Exercise. Tell me about fasting, exercise. Should we do it? Shouldn't we do it?
So the True North, they are the world expert on fasting. They say you shouldn't be doing exercise while you're fasting. You should preferably just lie in bed or maybe slowly walk around, because I think the reason is because when you do exercise, what your body will do is it will take the protein and it will return, what do you call it, convert it into sugar. Your body's able to do that.
and you can learn
So they
lose
don't want,
muscle mass.
and you can lose muscle mass. So they don't want you to do that.
So
Just lie in bed. It's called water fasting in a state of rest. That's what they call it. Water fasting, water only fasting in a state of rest.
Thank you for doing this and sharing your heart and soul and your journey.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you
very
both.
much.
Bye, everyone. I hope you'll share this and look below for the other interviews I talked about. My show is Growth Factor, and you can email me growthfactor.org@gmail.com, and email me if you have an incredible spiritual story or health journey.
bye-bye.
Thank you.